I'm not out here to play mediocre. I'm out here to win big because we only got one life.
Any person, any quote unquote successful person that's going to tell you that they've never had losses, you shut your ears and you run away the other way.
There's no business owner, none, that hasn't taken massive losses because they're swinging big bats. They're going for the home runs.
Like, let's say someone's starting out, how would they go about raising money?
But I would tell anyone out there, you should not be buying a flip. You should not be buying a rental. You should not be buying an apartment or a commercial with any of your own money. You should always be raising money. There's a lot of dry powder out there. You just need to know how.
Hi, and welcome to Common Denominator, a podcast about growth, mindset, and entrepreneurship. Today, we speak with Justin Colby about flipping homes. Justin is the founder of the Science of Flipping podcast and the Science of Flipping coaching program, and is an active real estate investor, having flipped over 2,000 homes in multiple markets. As a coach and mentor, he has advised thousands of clients on how to become real estate investors and how to launch and scale their portfolios. So, if you're curious about flipping homes, or maybe you're already doing it and you want to get better at it, this episode is for you. Hi, Justin, and welcome to Common Denominator.
Dude, thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here.
When did you fall in love with real estate in general?
It was something when you fall from grace, right? So I did very, very well as a realtor back in the early 2000s. And when the market crashed, I crashed financially. And I knew I didn't want to be a realtor, but I did realize it was actually the real estate, the function of real estate, the function of the art of the deal, doing deals, and then realizing, obviously, that we all know that so many billionaires are in the real estate game, that the ability to create a lot of income, make a lot of impact in neighborhoods, specifically for single families, and then build a lot of wealth, it just was a no-brainer to me that this is the vertical I want to be in. I love the art of the deal. I'm an entrepreneur by heart. So all those things play into real estate being, in my opinion, the very best vertical for anyone to be in terms of work, in terms of business ownership, in terms of wealth accumulation.
Do you have do you need to have a certain personality? Like probably you and I I also love that. I love the negotiation, the legal perspective, the financing, negotiating with the banks, and then create the creation, taking something broken down and then creating that vision and seeing that vision. But do you have to have that side of the brain, I guess, to be a successful real estate entrepreneur?
I think just to be an entrepreneur, you need to decide what you want and who you need to be to get it, right? So I live by 5 pillars of success, and that is the first pillar, is decide what you want and who you need to be to get what you want. That is the very first pillar. And so for any entrepreneurship, whether it's real estate or otherwise, that is it. And you will not succeed, or at least have the level of success that you're hoping for, if you can't finish pillar number 1. And by the way, when I say that, this is not like listen to this podcast and go out and make a decision. No. You got to really soul search, because you and I both know the amount of work it really creates to do something special, to do something big, to make a lot of money, to build a lot of wealth. This is not for the meek, right? Like, you can go make some money in real estate and you will be very well off financially for your whole life. You can make some money. But you and I, we're not in it for the sum thing, right? I'm not out here to play mediocre. I'm out here to win big because we only got one life. And, I want the very best out of this life. I've seen too much death in my 42 years on this planet not to have an awesome fucking life.
Yeah, I know. I definitely appreciate that. I know most people, and, I talk to my kids, especially my older kids, you talk about that clarity, right? That what you want and how you're going to get there. We've synthesized it, so I understand that. What is a process that someone can go through? You talk about soul searching, but most adults I come into don't have that clarity. Sometimes you hit rock bottom. I always talk about that in order to begin that journey of soul searching, of finding
For sure.
the path. What are if someone wants to start, because I know that that's a hard thing for humans to find that clarity without going through rock bottom, what's practical tools to try to find that clarity? Because it all does start from that. I definitely agree with that.
Well, the first thing I would make the argument that too many people, and I don't know the percentage, but the vast majority are okay with being okay. And that makes it very hard for someone to get clarity on what they really want because they're like, they're good enough. To your point, there's not enough pain to make them move. There's not enough pain to make them change. Because what I do, what you do, we work hard to create what we've gotten, right? We take risk. We go on a limb. We put forth the effort. And for me, in my case, I can't always speak to you for it, but I've taken losses, right? And you take those risks and you take those losses, and sometimes they're really big. I've taken multiple 7-figure losses in my real estate career, and that is, interestingly enough, one of my bigger flexes. I talk more about that than I talk about my wins, and it's because what came on after that, what I was able to learn, and the trajectory of what happened after relative to before. And so I would say the first part is people need to be very self-aware, and that is hard also, right? So a lot of this is like beyond my pay grade. I'm not a psychologist and therapist and things of this nature, but you do have to be self-aware. If you're okay with being okay, and okay, I don't know, make 150 grand a year and pay your bills and maybe have one vacation every single year, you're okay, right? But that is not where I want to be. So you have to look in the mirror and self-actualize. Who am I? What do I want? Like, what do I want out of this whole game of life, right? And from there, you need to connect with what you really want in a practical way. One of my best friends and has been a mentor to me forever because he's 10 years older than me, so he always has that like older brother wisdom. He always talks about going through a perfect day and literally writing out your very perfect day, and it should be emotional. Like, it has to break you down to tears. And if it doesn't, you haven't gone deep enough of what a perfect day really means, right? Because very seldomly do any of us have a perfect day. And if you can figure out what the perfect day is, then you can attach what you need to do to go get that perfect day, right? And I think everyone on here watching or listening, they're going to say, I want more time, especially with kids, if you have kids. And so get deep into that emotion and then create a life of income, right? Of wealth that you can go start to live those perfect days. It doesn't have to be every single day. Every day is not perfect. But if you start to practice that, you will start to realize like every day starts to get better, and you become to this journey of a perfect day. And then ultimately you can create it. And so the practical part of it is again, what do you really want? It goes back like, what is your perfect day? How do you live that perfect day? Like, from the smell of the air to the location, to the moment you wake up, to what you feel, what you touch, what you eat, what you're drinking, what you're, so I think that is really important for people to understand what does that mean to them.
I just want to go back to that losses point that you made, that you always harp on that. Any person, any quote unquote successful person that's going to tell you that they've never had losses, you shut your ears and you run away the other way.
Yeah.
Right? Would you agree with that?
100%. You listen, there in my single family space, right? We're both in real estate. We do a little bit of different sectors. I'm more in apartments now, which is very cool. I'm enjoying that. But there are so many coaches, gurus, mentors in the single family space, quite literally 21-year-olds who've done maybe a handful of wholesale deals. Right now, they want to go and sell people on how to do real estate. And so, there's a lot of people, I've never lost on a real estate deal. And then you just got to say, okay, well, because you did one flip, you made money, and you can walk around saying you've never lost. Like, there's no 1,000% batting average, right? The best of the best in baseball, the best of the best, struck out 7 times and hit the ball 3 times out of 10, right? Meaning, again, if you've never lost and you walk away, you close your ears, you walk away. And the people that want to flex and brag and but not talk about those losses are to me, I don't want to say just as bad, but like, they're not being authentic. They're not being transparent. Like, there's no business owner, none, that hasn't taken massive losses because they're swinging big bats. They're going for the home runs. And it's their ability to keep getting back up. I mean, Steve Jobs, RIP, rest his soul, like he's the king of this. He had massive losses if you read his book, right?
Yeah.
From being fired from the company he started. Take that for a pretty big loss. And he got himself back up and he created freaking Pixar,
Yep.
right? And now Pixar, and then he, has to come in and save the company he started because they shit the bed. Like, so again, if people are going to walk around and tout that they haven't lost, then I don't think they're being true. I don't think they're being genuine. And I wouldn't listen to them just out of simplicity of like, they're not going to give you the whole story any of the time.
You only learn from the most you learn is from the losses. Anyhow, so you don't want to hear someone rah, 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 I won every time. You're not going to get material advice or value add from someone like that. So let's go back. So here you are, you're working as a realtor, the home market crashes. What was the year and what was going on, kind of the first property that you bought, and was that a flip as well? Like what was the kind of the surrounding circumstances on the first time you went out?
So I had no money. I was literally sleeping on the couch. I let my home go to foreclosure. The repo man took my car. I had no income. So I was down and out as you can get. But I loved real estate, to your point. And so I started cold calling realtors. 9 months later, after literally my mark every day was to call 100 realtors every day, 6 days a week. Sundays I took off out of respect for just like realtors essentially wouldn't answer anyways. So it all just became a waste of time. So Monday through Saturday, 9 months later, I finally get my first deal. Right now, this is back in 2007. So the financial world, the real estate world was a little tricky, right? Short sales, the banks didn't know what to do, the collapse, the whole thing. But what happened was my realtor made the offer, but also knew someone wanting to buy it. But the home was about to go to foreclosure. So I used what's called transactional funding, which is very fast funding. I borrowed the money, funded the deal, and turned around and resold it to the end buyer and lined it up. So I didn't remodel it because it's actually one of the newer builds in Phoenix, Arizona. So I didn't need a remodel. It just so happened the homeowner was going to foreclosure. The borrower, the end buyer, couldn't get a loan fast enough to buy it. So I went and bought it and resold it to them. Made $7,000. Wasn't some big crazy home run, but what it did is it proved to me that this is real. I have certainty now that I can do this. Now it's just a function of keep my head down, keep doing the thing, and keep going. That's
interesting. My first time I came down here, similar, and there was a bank that had a foreclosure, and the borrower who had a personal guarantee, he told me the bank doesn't want to speak to me, and I have a buyer. So all I had to do, I did a simultaneous closing. I had no money, lost my job, 3 kids, and at that closing, it was a little more money I made. It was over 100,000 actually, and it was tremendous amount of money at the time, and that was a proof. I'm like, wow, because if you don't start in real estate, it's like this black box. I think of when I think back of psychologically what was going on in my mind. It's like this high barrier to entry, seemingly. And then if you don't start, you're like, oh, wow. Now it's like it becomes second nature, right, at this point. Right? Mm-hmm. It's like muscle memory, right?
You got to start, right? And that's why I talk about the 5 pillars. Like, decide what you want, because otherwise you're just going to exist, right? And I don't care who you believe in and who you look up to as a higher power. None of it was for you to just sit here on earth and exist.
I want to just go back to that because I think that that's a very important point to learn from. So here you are. What year is this? You said you had a 7-figure loss. What was the surrounding circumstances with that particular transaction? What had gone on? What was going on in your mind? How long were you into the flipping business at that point?
So that was 2012. 13, we went into a development play. So I've been flipping homes from 2007 to 12, 13, 14, I think. So anyways, but I was making all this money. And so part of it was cockiness,
Mm.
right? You get full of yourself. You can't miss. You have the golden touch. You have the Midas touch. I print money, right? And that cockiness led me into an opportunity of this development. But that cockiness blinded me to the person who brought me the deal was a contractor, right? Was a builder. And the challenge with that is he saw someone, at the time I think I was early 30s and I could raise a lot of capital. I could get deals done. I was, kind of the golden child around Phoenix. And within one phone call, I raised $3 million to buy the land. Within another phone call, I raised another $8 million to go vertical. And he essentially used this as an opportunity to take and embezzle money, essentially, from the company account because we were partners. And because of that, we were always weirdly short of money. And so we started to audit the books a little too late into the game, right? Because we realized like he's ripping out 20 grand every single month to pay himself and, all these expenses. And you're like, wait a minute, what is this? Right? Like we're not paying ourselves and blah, blah, blah. And so then he hired all the GCs and the contractors. And so shockingly enough, they were being way overpaid. Right. And so we started to run out of money way before projections. Um, and so it just kind of trickled down into first, I was too cocky, so I couldn't really see through that. Second, that weakness was taken advantage of, right? From someone who just was in it for himself. And so I think we got 7 units all the way up, finished, ready to sell, and money ran out and sales weren't happening. And it's not because we had a bad product. It's just there's a sequence in how new home builds are sold and whatever. And, we had a lot of hard money on there. So the interest rates were relatively high. And you could only raise so much money before it starts to go south. And so it did. And unfortunately, we actually had to give that back to the first position lender. And 7 figures were lost. And ironically, that first position lender did very, very well in the transaction over time. They went out, found their own contracting crew, finished the project, sold it all off, made a lot of money.
Yeah.
But, the bank always wins.
It seems that way. But how important is like reputation? Because, you're raising 3 million and another 8 million.
Yep.
It's a lot. It's a lot of money. What is necessary in order to raise money to get deals done? Like, let's say someone's starting out. How would they go about raising money?
Well, that starting out, I would say you want to go and partner with someone on like a single family home, right? Like I wouldn't go raise millions of dollars when you're just starting out, right? So you need a track record. The reason why I was able to do what I did is I had the track record of all the flips, right? So the year before, so 2011 or 2012, whatever the year was before, I did like 96 single family flips in a single 12-month period. That's a lot, right? We're not a big hedge fund. Like we don't have a huge operation. It was mom and pop, right? And so I had this track record of being able to do it and give my lenders back a lot. But I would tell anyone out there, you should not be buying a flip. You should not be buying a rental. You should not be buying an apartment or a commercial with any of your own money. You should always be raising money. There's a lot of dry powder out there. You just need to know how. And when you're just getting started, give away the farm, right? Give it away because you need to build your track record. So, for example, when I first raised money, it was incredibly expensive money. It was 50-50 money on profits. And you go and flip something for 50 grand and you used 100 grand and they make 25 grand and I make 25 grand. They got a 25% return on the money already. And I usually was flipping something within a 4-month period. So I keep doing this over and over and over again. Let's just say I use that money 3 times in that 12-month period. The return is insanity, right?
Yeah.
And you start to give away the farm and then you build a track record and then you can sharpen the pencil. Then you can say, hey, I think we got to relook at some terms here, right? Like you are making an absolute fortune and I'm doing everything. So let's just whittle this down, and maybe it goes from 50-50 to 75-25, or maybe it turns into straight debt, right? But I think it's a function of building your track record first so people have confidence.
I think a lot of people are short-sighted. I think that concept is extremely important. I know I've made for people a lot of money, and I also, I like you said, I've given away the farm. Initially, deals that I said, you know what, you want to get deals done. You want to do deals, be in it, have a seat at the table, and because, if you're not doing anything, you're not doing anything, right? So I keep thinking about that.
Yeah. Here's the thing is, you would know this. You know who Dave Grutman is?
Sure.
Okay. That's who I learned this from. I didn't learn it from him, but it really hit home. So well into my career, this is probably only 4 or 5 years ago. So I've been doing this since 2007. But it made me a better money raiser, because I'm blanking on the term I was looking for. But he built Komodo, and he was tapped out financially. That was it. That was going to be the end of his run. He was going to have the hottest restaurant in Miami, but there was going to be one of them, and he was done. And him and Grant Cardone were doing this interview, and basically he said, I basically was approached to do another restaurant, but they wanted 50% of the ownership. And he told himself, I either had 100% of Komodo, or I could get 50% or whatever the terms are of, 3, 4, 5, 6 restaurants. And if you know who Dave Grutman is, and Grutman Entertainment and Hospitality, he owns Club Live in Miami. He owns Komodo, Poppy Steak, Gecko, like literally the hottest restaurants in Miami, the hottest club. He now has the hottest club and restaurants in Las Vegas with Live, Komodo, Poppy Steak.
I love the balloons and the thumbs up. Love that.
It's great. So, but it really resonated with me, because that's what I did, not knowing I did that in real estate. Is you could have 100% of a grape or 2% of a watermelon, and you kind of get to make that decision. And it just depends. Again, pillar number 1: decide what you want,
right?
Because there are plenty of people that Komodo is still one of the hottest restaurants in Miami, still to this very day, that would be totally happy owning the hottest restaurant in Miami, right? So you just got to make that decision. But give away the farm if you want to grow. If you want scale, you got to give it up. Like, there's no, I don't want to say no, because I don't know everyone, but like, I'm excitedly getting into the tech space. Well, some VC companies have come to us already, and we're infantile, and they're ready to cut really, 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 really retirement sized checks if we hit a couple benchmarks. But man, are they going to come after equity? And when I mean equity, it's ownership.
Sure.
There's no Facebook, there's no Google, there's no Tesla, there's no any of that without people taking ownership of the company and cutting the check for it. So you just got to decide. And trying to hold it all and stay small and hold it all, you can do well. Like I said, he could have just owned Komodo and it could still be the hottest restaurant in Miami. Fine. But he's damn sure is not the same Dave Grutman he is today, where he's speaking at colleges and basically running the city of Miami and running Vegas now, because everyone's so in love with, the club and the restaurants and the day club and all that stuff. So anyways.
But I'm saying you have to think about 2 words: scale and diversification, right? Mm-hmm. So I remember I could have owned one building, right? I could have owned one building. And I remember the conversation with my wife and my mother-in-law. And I said, listen, we could do this. Or to your point, I could bring on investors, I could bring on partners, and we can grow. And then I took that mindset because I saw a business model. I was getting deals, and I was willing to build a team that's comfortable managing stuff that other people weren't willing to manage, and hard stuff, and then asymmetrical risk, and then you get higher returns. And then we were doing that. For a while, but that idea is, it's super important. Let me ask you. You mentioned about the technology, and I've seen over the years, a lot of tech that's coming into the property space. Is that the space that you're looking at, like kind of prop tech?
Yep.
Where do you
And it was,
think?
go
Yeah,
ahead.
well, I was just saying, where do you think is that going to help with flipping or owning real estate? Are these things going to become mainstream?
So interestingly enough, and this is how it always should be, is I solved a problem for my own business. That's how it was created. I didn't try to go out and become a tech company. I just had, infrastructure because I wanted certain levels of follow up and communication and lead generation kind of built into my business, which led to other people wanting it. I have a coaching program, right? And so all of my students were like, wait, how can I get that? So over the better part of a year now, we have built it out and started to sell it. And it has caught the eye of some tech companies that are like, wow, this is a game changer for the single family real estate space. And so, with that said, it helps real estate investors and agents, realtors, navigate lead generation and nurturing their clients, right? All the way up to negotiating a deal. And so, do I think I think this is 100% of a game changer relative to what is out there right now, because I know what's out there. Um, and so, again, it kind of just depends. I wouldn't have chosen this. This came truly organically.
Yeah, I think if you can name the problem first, you have to name the problem. That's like most of the work, and then
Yeah.
you just have frustration. So you're just dealing with something, right? You're just super. Right now, I'm frustrated. I'm trying to come up with solutions. Number one issue in Florida is insurance.
Oh,
Windstorm insurance. It's terrible.
I just paid mine, dude. I lost my mind.
I
I'm like,
know.
why am I paying this quarterly?
Yeah,
Like it is
it's
bad. The wind insurance. I just went through Citizens. Sorry, not to get off
no,
topic.
no, no,
Today,
no.
this morning.
This is an issue
I'm
in real
like,
estate. Yeah,
I live in Pinecrest. If you know Pinecrest,
sure.
so I'm like, God damn, this is insanity. How much I'm paying.
Yeah. There's an emotion. Everybody I speak to, it could be business people, politicians, across the boards. Number one conversation, 23 million people, windstorm insurance. So I'm working, don't have all the pieces together today, but I'm working. That's a huge problem. So again, big goals, lots of pain, right? So I'm working on trying to solve that.
Love that.
So we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, call me when it's solved.
Right, I know. All the real estate guys like call me and let me know how that goes.
Yeah,
Tell us about the coaching program, because I think a
yeah.
lot of people, especially initially, need their hand to be held in order to jump into the real estate game.
Yeah. No, and they should, right? I think you and I would both agree, and I don't know your whole background, but from the very beginning, which I didn't tell this part, but I borrowed $25,000 to hire a coach when I first got started. Remember, I was sleeping on a couch. I had no car. I had nothing. But I believed in my ability to be so successful within the real estate and my love and my passion. Like I knew my 5 principles before I was able to even audibly say them or write them down. And I decided I wanted to be in real estate and I was going to get rich in real estate. At the time it was rich, now it's wealthy, right? Um, and so I took the risk, called a friend and borrowed $25,000 to hire a coach. And it has quite literally led to the point of like this year, just 2 months ago, I cut a $120,000 check for another coach. Obviously, my income has gone up, so I can afford higher level, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I'm not saying anyone out there needs to cut a $25,000 check or a $120,000 check. I am not, my coaching program is not either of those numbers, right? But if you are going to go do something, learn from someone who has already done it before. And I'm going to bring up you talked about being uncomfortable, and I'm going to bring up something that to me seems to be obvious, but I think to most people it isn't. Being uncomfortable, you need to be in that state 100% of the rest of your life if you want anything more than mediocrity. You have to be uncomfortable.
Yeah.
As kids, we have this natural ability. We have to learn how to crawl, we have to learn how to walk, we have to learn how to ride a bike, we have to learn how to swim. All of that is totally uncomfortable. Many of us, like myself, fell down a lot of times, scraped their knees a lot of times, practically drowned, all those things while learning how to do it. However, every one of those things, you keep going, even though you fell down, you scraped your knee, you broke your arm, and you keep trying over and over and over again. Somewhere in your, growing up, people have gotten afraid of failure and falling down and whatever. But I say this to also bring in the fact that everyone who learned how to crawl, walked, ride a bike, or swim learned from someone who already knew how to do those things.
Right.
So I'm making parallel analogies. A, be incredibly uncomfortable because as a child you were. So get the fuck out of your own way and get back to being uncomfortable. Yeah. Number two, that you learned all of these skills, how to talk, how to walk, how to do anything from someone who has done it before, your parents. There should be no difference in either of those parallel points that we take on as adults. If you are going to get into single family, wholesaling, flipping, and rentals, then come into my community, The Science of Flipping. Go to justincolbycoaching.com. Fill out the application. In fact, I'll personally talk. I won't even push you to my sales team. I'll talk to you. How about that? Because if you want this, learn from someone who's done it before. I've done 2,600 deals and counting. I can help you. But for someone to go out there and go to YouTube University or Apple Podcasts and try to figure it out themselves is just short-sighted, right? I borrowed $25,000 to put it on my shoulders to take a bet on myself. It's the best thing I've ever done in my entire life, besides having my wife and my 2 children. Everyone should be ready and willing to do that. But it all starts with the number one, decide what you want and who you need to be to get it. Because none of it's easy.
Yeah, and I love the idea. I think that that's a very hard thing to make that choice, right? Sleeping on the couch, no car, like you're saying. And then you make this choice to invest in yourself. Most people...
By a friend, by the way. So you can imagine, like, our conversations weren't great until I paid him back, right? Like, it was like, hey, bro, you want to grab a cup of coffee? And then he's like, all right, so when's my money coming? It's just always, so not totally fun.
Right. I mean, but you probably said to yourself, you know what? I don't like the position where I'm in right now. I got to figure my stuff out. Right?
Bet on yourself, dude, and go. Right. Fucking do the thing, right? Like, just go. People are too worried about, they want to be perfect.
Right.
Perfect is the enemy of done. Go get it done. Don't worry about being perfect.
Things that are anything in life are really strange how they came to be. In actuality, it's never the system. It's the outside. It's the anti-system that actually makes things that are revolutionary or outside of the box or beyond the bell curve, if you want to call it that. So, Justin, let me ask you, right now, sitting where you are and all your experience, what's something that comes to you right now that you're deeply grateful for?
I just had another child 14 days ago. So that is the first thing, obviously, that is weighing on my heart and my mind. And I'm so blessed. He's an unbelievable boy. He's, sleeps 4 hours at a time. So for any of my parents out there, that is amazing. He's just calm, right? Like, my daughter's the other side of that. My daughter slept an hour and a half. She's got the attitude. My wife's Cuban. She's got that Cuban loud go, and seemingly my son is very much more chill. So I'm blessed with 2 unbelievably beautiful and healthy children, which is what I'm most grateful for, and secondary to my wife, obviously. And the rest is who gives a shit, right? It's all cool. It's all fun. I'm going to go, become a billionaire and go work my face off to create the life that I deserve and that my children deserve. But that's only because it affords me the time I want. I don't care if I really hit $1 billion. That's not the real goal. The real goal is to just have all the time, right? And so that's it.
Yeah, time is key. I stand in your shoes. We had a baby about 6 weeks ago. So
nice. So you get it.
So baby boy, and it's probably my last child, but it's unbelievable. Each day you can spend time with that baby, and it's super important. You have to be super present. It's really nice.
Totally. Well, the challenge we're having is my daughter's emotions, right? She was the only child for 3 years. Now she's not, right? And she's trying to figure out what's going on. And she loves him and wants to spend, but then she's also acting up with me and her mom. And it's a function of like, we spoiled her for 3 years. So we said, or at least I said yes to everything. So that's not ideal. So now I have to unwind that a little bit.
Is she still sleeping in the bed? Is that the
no? So that's the one thing we've never allowed. She's never once slept in her bed. The only time ever is when we do travel together. We'll allow that to happen, but she's never at home, never once.
Yeah. One trick which actually worked for a couple of my kids. I bought a gift for the older kid, and I said, "Oh, look what baby bought you." So to have that like good relationship, it's like, oh wow, look at, it's like plays on the head, but no, but it's beautiful. Enjoy it. It's really, really nice. And what's something about you that people don't know?
Man, I've really kind of dropped my soul online. So what is something that they would not know? Well, I'm learning Spanish again, so there's that because my wife is Cuban, and I would love to have my children speak Spanish. Uh, but I think I just want them to know that, like, regardless of levels of success or what is portrayed within my social media or within my podcast, like, I'm still just a normal dude, right? I still put on my pants one leg at a time. I still fuck up. I make mistakes, and that's okay. And the only person I have to forgive is myself, and that is easy to do if you just love yourself, right? And so I don't know, just that I'm normal as anyone else, and I just have a work ethic and a want for something bigger and more for my life. That for some people can feel like I'm money hungry. I don't care. Money just gives me access to time. So
Yeah, it's
that's
beautiful. I want to say thank you. It's really been insightful. Really appreciate your time, Justin. How can people learn more about you, listen to your podcasts, maybe sign up for your programs?
Yeah, so the Justin Colby is my Instagram. If you are looking to get in the residential real estate wholesaling, flipping, and rental game, go to justincolbycoaching.com, fill out an application. Let me know you heard it on this podcast. I would love to know that and just have an honest conversation with you to figure out whether I can help you. I have two great podcasts, The Science of Flipping and then The Entrepreneur DNA. Both of them are ranked in the top 5 on Apple. And so there's that as well.
Yeah, congratulations on that. I know that's a lot of specific, long, hard journey work. So.
Oh, there's no doubt.
Yes.
That was not overnight. Thank you, bro. I appreciate you.
Yes. And really, thank you so much. Thank you, Justin.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
It's really been great. Only abundance and success, health and happiness. Thank you.
To you as well.
Thank you so much. Hope you enjoyed my conversation with Justin. Next week, I'll be speaking with Manning Sumner. Manning is a former football player turned gym owner turned fitness pioneer. He's the founder of Legacy Gyms in Miami and has developed a fitness system called Partner Interval Training. He believes in the no days off philosophy and that everybody can achieve professional level fitness results. If you're watching this show on Facebook or YouTube, we'd be grateful for a like, share, and subscribe. And if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, feel free to leave a rating and review. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you again soon.